the fulvic acid molecule is small enough that it can penetrate the cell wall.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the receptor sites are then chelated or bound to, all of our elements that are naturally found in our deposit material. So what you end up with is it's basically a nutrient delivery system that can penetrate the cell wall. It can donate those elements so that the mitochondria within the cell actually has this fuel to burn, and it burns so clean that it puts out fewer free radicals. Wow. And what free radicals are generated from the combustion is now rebound to that fulvic acid molecule, and that can come out of the cell. In other words, it's removing the toxins. So it's a very powerful molecule. But the fulvic acid molecule is on the spectrum. It's actually a humic acid.
Okay.
And the humic
acid
segment
then of it.
It's on the smallest end of it, and there's a very small amount that is generated on every plant life cycle. So imagine every year you've got plants growing up and decaying.
Yeah.
And now the next season, those plants grow up, and every time those minerals and other elements are pulled up through the root system of the plant, it gets broken down further, so it gets more and more refined. And so each plant life cycle, if you think about our deposit material, we've had 34 million life cycles that has processed these ingredients, these elements. And in that, we can talk more about it, but on the spectrum of humic acid, which is nothing more than compost, if you think of compost, ancient compost, 34 million years old. It's had enough plant life cycles that it's actually got measurable amounts of fulvic acid. The fulvic acid portion of the size, it's so small it can penetrate the cell wall. Humic acids can be hundreds of thousands of times larger.
So they can't get through that cell wall.
They can't get through the cell wall. So they can't. That's the key. And that's the threshold of the humic acid that's really small is fulvic.
Yeah.
Once it can't penetrate through the cell wall, it's strictly humic acid. And humic acids have their own value, but that's another story.
Yeah, and then the fulvic then penetrating the cell wall, you mentioned it's a nutrient delivery system.
Right. Because the fulvic acid molecule has receptor sites that then bind to these other elements that are naturally occurring in our deposit material. It's just a perfect storm.
That's great.
A perfect storm. So, so that's a story that can be, we could refine it so it's a little bit, rolls off my tongue a little bit better.
I never stopped recording, so that's good stuff. I just got you on a good chunk of information that'll be a separate video. And you're right, we'll just keep doing this stuff. This is great.
I've got another topic, we can talk about. We can talk about humic acid. We can talk about, there are products in the marketplace that something that's just recently come up is somebody's been touting a clear fulvic. So it's a liquid drop. It looks like water, and it's a clear fulvic, and they're talking about clear fulvic, and the word clear is it's very engaging. It's like, it's got to be good for you because it's clear. The truth is that the fulvic acid molecule if you look at the ring structure, there's 3 primary rings here
Yeah.
in the center. If you see that.
Yeah.
Now, in the fulvic acid molecule, that ring structure refracts light in the amber light spectrum. If it ain't amber, it doesn't have much fulvic in it. So if you're looking at a clear fulvic, you're looking at a fulvic product that might not even be measurable amount of fulvic. So the potency
watered
is
down.
So watered down that it is water.
Yeah, interesting.
We're not throwing stones at people.
No,
we're just sharing information.
And and that leads to the third-party verification, the documentation, all of that transparency that confirms the purity, the potency, all of those key elements in what Mineralogic offers.
And on top of that, we've tested it for pesticides and herbicides, including glyphosate, which is also known as Roundup, and even the residual of Roundup. When Roundup, actually, over time, the signature changes. The chemical structure changes from glyphosate to some other version of it. But we've had that tested as well. And not just the deposit material, but every one of our end products, just to make sure that we're not introducing it somewhere, somehow. So
because there's chemicals like that once it's in the ground, it's millions of years before it's gone, if ever. Is that right?
Right. Once you contaminate something, it's like once you put the cream in the coffee, it's hard to take the cream out.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah.
It's done. It's
keep adding more coffee, but still it's there.
That's exactly. So, the potency, safety, fulvic acid being a small molecule is very safe. It doesn't plug up organs and things like that.
Yeah.
So we know that the toxicity, and Dr. Williams has written some white papers on that. It's a very safe ingredient to add. So it doesn't have negative side effects. It's all good. Yeah.
Only positives. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's an honor to be able to bring this to the marketplace and to work with team members that are excited about fulvic acid and humic acids. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right.
You want to talk about anything else?
I think we're good.